Hello YouTube, apologies about this, we've had kind of technical difficulties, and what we're going to do was talk about the cards in the set for M15, but we can't record off the computer at the moment, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the Gatherer website and looking at the cards from there. You guys can go on Gatherer and look through it. If you put onto by colour, we're onto black, so find the black ones, and then we'll just go alphabetically from there. Okay, so don't forget that you can watch our videos. We do lots of different videos, and I'm just going to get rid of this virus because I need to clean my computer up, and then we can crack on. Here we go. Alright, Thraice, if you would like to start us off with the first black card, we'll make a go at this.
So, our first black card is a Cursed Spirit. This is a 4 mana, 3/1 black creature, spirit, 3/2 with Intimidate. So, 4 mana, we get a 3/2 body, not bad, but it comes with Intimidate. An evasion ability that black is historically always very good at. Yeah, it's a good creature.
Yeah, 4-drop for a 3/2 with Intimidate.
Yeah.
Can't be blocked
Good
except by
creature.
artifact creatures and all creatures that share a colour with it. How many people are going to be playing black?
Yeah. If you've taken all the good black cards, not many.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next up we have what's starting to be a staple of black now is Black Cat. We didn't see a white cat in the white cards. Unfortunately, that was a nice little twist on Black Cat. But here we go again. So this is a 2-drop, 1 black, zombie cat, 1/1. When it dies, target opponent discards a card at random. Very basic common card. Quite a nice little second turn drop. Only a 1/1, but
The fact it makes opponents discard cards at random, though, is pretty useful. They don't get to pick one card, oh, I didn't really need that anyway. They have to hope that they get the card they didn't need anyway.
yeah.
Cool. So, next up we have Blood Host. This is 3 black, so 5. Creature, vampire, 3/3. Pay 1 and 1 black, sacrifice another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Blood Host, and you gain 2 life.
I like that.
It's not bad. Obviously, would like it to have flying. But 5 mana for a 3/3, each your other creatures, so say you're chump blocking with a 1/1 against a big creature, rather than having that creature do its 1 measly damage to the big creature, and that's not really achieving anything, you can sack it to this guy. The other your opponent's creature is still blocked, but this guy gets +1/+1, and you gain 2 life.
And you can use it to trigger off your Black Cat as well.
Yep.
So you could feed the black cats to it, and then make them discard. You gain 2 life, and you get a +1/+1 counter on it. I think that's a very nice card. Like you said, it'd be nice to see it flying. 5-drop with a double black is a little bit on the pricey side, but I think its other abilities kind of make up for that a little bit, and I could see a lot of limited play. Whether standard picks up on it or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, next up is Carrion Crow. This is a 3-drop, 1 black zombie bird, 2/2. So it's kind of your black cat variation. It's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, it's tapped though, so you're paying 3 for a flying with 2/2, which normally would be pretty balanced, but it comes into play tapped, so you're going to spend another turn. You can't use it as a blocker. Not a bad little card. I probably would play it if I was playing black.
Yeah.
Just as a little token.
Yeah, you want the evasion. Doesn't matter if it comes into play tapped. You want the evasion creature.
Yeah.
I agree. You play that.
You want some flying in your deck somewhere.
So next up we have Caustic Tar. This is a 4 black, so 6 enchantment aura, enchant land. Enchanted land has tap, target player loses 3 life.
Boom.
It's a nice ability, making your opponent directly lose 3 life as often as you want, because lands are harder to destroy than a lot of other things. That's pretty good. So unless they can destroy the enchantment. The real drawback to it is it's really steep mana cost. You're playing it at a time when you want to be playing a big creature to kill your opponent. So, I mean, if you've got really good defense, it's a good way to just whittle down your opponent if they can't destroy enchantments or lands. But other than that, its mana cost makes it really quite difficult to play, I think.
Yeah, if it had the new ability where you can tap creatures to play it, I think that would be a really good card, but it's quite expensive for what it does. Next up, Child of Night, which is a 2-drop black vampire 2/1 with lifelink. This is an old Magic card now.
Yep.
It's good to see it reprinted. You've got a bit of lifelink in there. You got a bit of vampire. 2/1 for a 2/2 with the lifelink. I think that's fairly balanced. It's not a bad card. It's not gonna do amazing things, but early game, second turn, could be quite useful. And if you can buff it later game with that lifelink, very interesting card.
Definitely. So next up we have Covenant of Blood. This is 6 and 1 black, so 7 altogether. Sorcery with Convoke, the new ability that we were just talking about. Covenant of Blood deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life. Pretty cool effect. 4 damage is a lot. You also gain 4 life. Really annoys red players when you gain life. Its mana cost is really way too high. I mean, it's got Convoke to balance it out, but it's still a lot of creatures you're going to have to be tapping down just to do the 4 damage. And that 4 damage you might well be able to force through by just swinging in those creatures, you know. So if you're playing a black weenie deck, could be useful. Or if you've absolutely got to hold all your blockers, or your creatures back as blockers, could be useful. I'm not sold on its effectiveness though.
No, I don't know. I think someone could find some good play. If you need it and it's there, it could be quite useful. But you're going to find other things that are going to do that in standard once you get out of limited.
Yeah, definitely.
So it might get a bit of play, but post pre-releases, I don't think so. Alright, next up we've got another reprint, which is Crippling Blight. It's 1 black, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 and can't block. It's a useful card. It's a very useful card. Kill weenies for 1, or make your opponent really stuck with his wall or something like that. Would make a wall completely useless, really. Yeah, that's a good little black card. Nice to see that one reprinted.
Yeah, quite cool. So next up we have Cruel Sadist. This is 1 black mana for a creature human assassin, 1/1. Pay 1 black and tap him. Pay 1 life, put a +1/+1 counter on Cruel Sadist. Pretty good ability. Yeah, okay, it eats away at your life, but there are lots of life gain cards, as we've just seen, in it. However, it also is a good way to make your Cruel Sadist a lot bigger. Pay 2 or 1 black, tap, remove X +1/+1 counters from Cruel Sadist. Cruel Sadist does X damage to target creature. So it's also got built-in creature removal. The drawback is, of course, you've got removal. There's +1/+1 counters you just put on it by paying life. But there are other ways to put +1/+1 counters on creatures, especially if you're playing green, black, green, rock.
Or you could death touch it.
Yeah.
If you manage to give it death touch somehow, then just taking off 1 +1/+1 counter would be an instant kill for someone. So you'd be paying 1 turn, you'd pay 1 mana to put it on. Second turn, you pay 3 mana and you take it off and it dies.
Yeah.
You get a very, very good way of removal.
Yeah, not a bad creature.
Right, then we have Endless Obstinance, which is a 6-drop 4/4 sorcery with the Convoke ability. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So that's not even your graveyard right there. That could work into your bomb. Decromancy is always useful in black. If you can self-mill or something like that, and you can put a really powerful black card into your discard pile, you can get that card back again for 6, but with the Convoke. So you've played a couple of weenies, that then gets it down to 4. 4 for getting a fatty out isn't bad.
And of course, always great to target some of your opponent's large creatures that you finally managed to kill, and you just want to beat your opponent's face with their own creature in vengeance.
Always useful. Alright, we're just loading up the next set of cards, so we're changing page now on Magic the Gatherer. We're on page 5 for everyone playing along at home. And there we go.
So, our first card on this page is Eternal Thirst. 1 and 1 black, so 2. Enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has lifelink, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So again, another great way to put +1/+1 counters onto Cruel Sadist.
She's automatically putting a counter back on herself when she pings off and fires.
Yeah.
If you could combo out Sadist, Eternal Thirst, and something to give her Death Touch, I think you've got yourself just a loose cannon right there, and you can just pick off.
Gives her lifelink as well, so you deal all that damage, you kill the creature, put the +1/+1 count back onto it, and gain all the life you did, because it's still damage.
Yeah, so that even negates the... But you need to pay the -1 life to put the counter on the next turn. So I think that... I don't know if there is a Death Touch card in this deck. We haven't got that far yet. But if there is, I mean that's a triple combo that could really slow down your opponent to kind of crawling speed.
And only 2 mana, you can cast it on other creatures as well.
Yeah. Next up we have Feast on the Fallen, which is a 3-drop black enchantment. At the beginning of each upkeep, if an opponent lost life last turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Very, very useful. If you're doing a bit of direct damage and you know it's going to be coming in, or this could go on to your...
back onto the Crusaders again.
Back onto the Sadist, another way of getting counters on there. Black's looking very counter heavy this time round. It's quite nice. But 3-drop for that kind of enchantment I think is quite useful.
Yeah, the 3 mana cost makes it playable. So next up we have Fester Gloom. This is 2/1 black, so 3 altogether. Sorcery. Non-black creatures get -1/-1 turn to turn. Pretty cool. Allows you to swing in with your creatures more efficiently, making your opponent smaller. And since you're obviously playing black, it's not going to affect all of your creatures. Of course, if you're splashing other colours, it's going to affect your non-black creatures. But pretty good.
And if you're playing someone who's playing white or blue, which we've looked at so far, and probably thinking green as well, there's a lot of tokens going on which are 1/1s. So you really could drop a lot of things out of the sky or get rid of a lot of soldiers from playing that.
Yeah.
From playing that. The squid deck we talked about in the blue videos.
Yeah.
Good luck, but I think that could be quite a powerful card, especially side decked. But then again, everything's your side deck in pre-release, so always remember that. You've always got every card that you drew in your pre-release.
So, next up we have Flesh to Dust. 3 black, instant. Destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. Now, back in the old days of Magic, even going back to at least Mirrodin, we used to have a card called Terror. Exactly the same. Destroy target creature, can't be regenerated, although it was destroy target non-black creature, but it only cost 2 mana. Here we have a 5 mana version. However, still pretty efficient, destroys anything. So non-black, non-artifact, Terror was non-artifact, non-black. So this targets any creature unless they're indestructible or pro-black. And it stops them from being able to regenerate. Instant speed, still good. 5 mana is quite steep, but it is guaranteed removal.
And it stops you firing too quick.
Yeah.
Because you want to save this for their phase. They bring out something that they're laughing at, they've tapped everything down, and then you can just go, no.
Yeah.
It's kind of May I in black, really. Very nice. I like it. I would probably have that in a deck. I wouldn't go more than one, but I would have that in a black deck if I'm playing black.
Definitely 100% play it limited.
Standard, I don't know, might be a bit more difficult, but you'll get a feel for it in the limited game, I think. Next up we have another reprint, which is Gravedigger. It's a 4-drop 1 black 2/2 zombie, but when it enters the battlefield you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. The downside is it goes to your hand and not straight to the battlefield, but it'd probably be OP'd at a 4-drop for a 2/2. So you're still getting a 2/2 out of that, and then you can return something that you really want from your graveyard. So we've talked about Necromancy. It's always good to be able to play from your deck, from your graveyard, in black.
Yeah, I think so.
Can be quite handy. I like this card. Got a lot of play back in the day, so be good to see it back in.
Used to enjoy playing it with Gen Palm Polluter. Look it up. Nice little combo. So next we have In Garruk's Wake. This is 7 black, so 9 altogether. Sorcery. Destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. So, proper board wipe while maintaining all your own creatures and planeswalkers, while destroying all of your opponent's creatures and planeswalkers. That's the most important bit for it. The real drawback, of course, is 9 mana is a lot. Even in limited, getting to 9 mana is not guaranteed. It is hard to do. Maybe a little bit of a win more spell. I mean, when you cast it, you're probably going to win next turn. All your stuff's fine, all theirs isn't. But, I don't know, turn 9...
It's your bomb, though. If you play that card, you've got to know you're going to win. You've got to have enough in your front line to be able to walk over, smack him in the face, kill him.
Yeah.
I can see why it's in Garruk's Wake, because it's begging to be played in mana green ramp. Splash a bit of black in there, you're going to be okay. It would be an OP'd card if it was anything less than 9.
Yeah.
If you can't guarantee, yeah, I think that's a really good card. It's priced right, I think, with that 9 mana, because if you're going to be going for it, you've got to go and you've got to push for it. And unless you've got the right combination of cards, don't put it in your deck.
Yeah.
Maybe standard, if you could green ramp, overrun and Garruk's Wake at the same time, that would be insane. But yeah, we'll see if that works. Good luck. If anyone gets to play it, please let us know, because I want to see that in play. Next up, we have Indulgent Tormentor. This is a 5-drop double black demon. It's a 5/3 with flying. Also, it has the added ability of, at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless the target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. This is a nice card.
Yeah.
5 for a 5/3 with flying, I think you could happily pay that anyway. With a creature with 5 attack and flying, you're on a countdown now of 4 turns to win, unless they can throw some chump blockers at you or something to get rid of that creature. Then you've got the added advantage of you get additional draw unless your opponent sacks or takes 3 life. So you could be getting 8 mana from 8 life from an opponent each turn. I love this card.
Yeah, I am with you. It's really nice to see black getting a big demon creature, which is at least as efficient as some of white's angels again. Yeah, its 3 toughness means it can be reasonably easily controlled, I guess. But you're playing black. Black is a control colour. It's got creature removal. It's got discard. You can stop your opponent being able to deal with it. And like you say, the 4-turn clock at 5/3 is great. Drawing extra cards is great. Or your opponent sacks a creature or loses 3 life. Brilliant.
And don't forget, we've been talking about cards that bring creatures back from the graveyard. Your Necromancer, you get this one out on turn 5. Play a bit of green mana ramp, you could get this guy out by turn 4, maybe sooner if you're really lucky on your god hand. And then, okay, you do a bit of damage, you get the extra draws or you get the life, but your opponent deals with it. Next turn you then put a Gravedigger down, and you've got him back in your hand.
Yeah.
Your opponent's just going to be off his game by then. So I like this card, and I think that should go into a black deck if you pull it.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. So next up we have the Sliver for black. Leeching Sliver, 1/1 black, so 2. Creature, Sliver, 1/1. Whenever a Sliver you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life. Pretty cool. Yeah, so they're guaranteed to lose at least 1 life, because it's just for whenever you attack. So even if they block and kill your Slivers, they've still lost at least 1 life per Sliver you attacked with. And that's of course on top of the rest of the pumping abilities that the Slivers you have might well do.
Yeah, in a Slither deck, this thing's going to be beautiful. You're not going to see a Slither deck in the pre-release limited. There's only 1 of each colour, so unless you are playing 5 colour, we haven't got to green yet, so maybe Mana Slithers in there or something similar to it, but it'd be very difficult to see a Slither deck being played. Yeah, and then I don't know standard whether they're going to go with more Slithers or not. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'd have to see when the new set, or the new block cycles round.
Is it my turn?
It is.
So I get the Black Planeswalker. This is a Liliana Vess, so this is the latest Liliana. It's a 5-drop double black, so it's not too bad. Liliana Planeswalker with 5 loyalty to start with. Her +1 ability is target player discards a card. That's nice. They get to pick which card to discard, unfortunately, but it gives you your +1. Your -2 is search your library for a card, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. It's not bad. It's not, you don't get a draw off it, but you know what you're getting next turn, so that's always useful. Good for deck fixing. And then her ultimate is a -8. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. That's a game changer. Whether you can get to an ultimate on a Planeswalker, that's a completely different matter. But if you do manage it, that wins you the game.
Yeah.
That really, really does.
This is Liliana in her purest of form. Planeswalkers were introduced in the Lorwyn set. It's the very first time we ever saw them. It's a cycle of 5, 1 for each colour. Liliana was a black one. This is that card. Exactly the same as she was back in Lorwyn, but it's classic. It's classic for a reason. +1 discard a card, perfect black ability. -2 is Vampiric Tutor without the life loss. Again, perfect black ability. And returning creatures from the graveyard to play, definitely a black ability. Pretty fun. Pretty cool.
It's good. I mean, you're not gonna turn your nose up at a Planeswalker if you draw it in a pre-release. I think you get a Planeswalker, you're gonna go, that's the colour I'm playing, or at least I'm definitely splashing enough to be able to play that card. It's a 5-drop double black. That's not difficult to do. I like her. I think she'll be very useful.
Yeah. Definitely. So, next up we have Mind Rot. Again, classic card from back in the day of Magic. 2 and 1 black, 3 sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. 3 mana to make an opponent discard 2 cards is pretty useful. It's efficient. Discarding 2 cards is strong. Discard abilities are almost always sorcery. Not 100%, there is some instant speed, and that's brilliant. But it's not as good as, say, Hymn to Torak, which makes the opponent discard cards at random. That's particularly good, but that's the reason it's not been reprinted. So Mind Rot's kind of like a nice, soft version of that. Pretty useful in Limited. Not a top tier pick, but not bad if you're playing black.
Yeah, something to pad your deck out with.
Yeah.
If you need something. Then we've got Necrobite, which is another reprint. It's a 3-drop, 1 black instant. Target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. Now we've talked about black having Death Touch, so this is quite useful. And it has a regenerate it ability as well, so you really can change your chump blocker into a David and Goliath situation right there. Your little 1/1 has now got Death Touch and regenerate, so it even stays around after you've killed your opponent's massive creature. It's a really useful card. It's at instant speed. It's a pity it doesn't stay. As an enchantment, it would be amazing, but I mean, obviously that would be too OP'd. I think it's a very good card, definitely worth putting in your deck. Of course, in Standard, it's going to be, there's other things that would do that better. There's more effective, more cheaper cards, but that, very, very useful for pre-release.
So, next up we have Necrogen Scudder. This is 2, 1 black, so 3. Creature Horror, 3/3. Flying. When Necrogen Scudder enters the battlefield, you lose 3 life. Now, black likes to give you a bit of a drawback on efficient creatures, always has done. 3 mana for 3/3 with flying is really good. Making you lose 3 life is annoying. It is really annoying. However, your horror might end up doing a lot more damage than that to your opponent. If they don't have any flying creatures, or you can control out their flying creature with your removal, it's going to win you games.
Yeah, I think this is a really good, really strong card. Yeah, alright, you've got the -3 life loss, but you've got lifelink in black. You can get that 3 life back. It's not the end of the world losing 3 life 3rd turn. You don't want to play it end game and it's going to leave you on 1 life. But early game, I think it's definitely worth it for a 3/3 for 3 cost with flying. That's effective. So next up we have a Necromancer's Assistant. This is a 3-drop black zombie 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. That, on the other hand, isn't cost effective.
No.
Unless, of course, you're playing Necromancy. Now, if you want to get that big fat card into your graveyard, you know where it is. Maybe if you've tutored for it, or you played Liliana's ability, which lets you put the top card on, or the card on top of the library rather than drawing it, you know which card it is you're going to be sending. Maybe that is actually worth it to you. It's a chump blocker. It's a strong chump blocker. It's a 3/1, but that's what it's going to be there for. I think you're mucking about with your deck. You're pulling stuff from the discard pile, or from your deck into your discard pile, so then you can get it from your discard pile onto the battlefield for cheap. It's got its place. If you know where you want to play it and what you want to do with it, good for you. If you haven't got a clue and you don't really know, you don't play a 3 mana cost creature for a 3/1 that then mills you for 3.
So the drawback is it's like a rubbish version of Oreskos Swiftclaw, which was a 3/1 as well, no other abilities, but only cost you 2 mana. It's a shame. But like I say, used it the right way, of course, this could be stronger. Used it the wrong way, it's a lot worse. Cool. So next card up, Necromancer's Stockpile. This is a 1 mana, 1 black, so 2. Enchantment. 1 colourless, 1 black. Discard a creature card, draw a card. If the discarded card was a zombie card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped.
Wow.
So this has a lot of really good synergy with certain zombie cards. The one that immediately springs to mind is, of course, Gravecrawler. Although, of course, not being standard, not so useful for that. Could see some play in other game types. Overall, it's not terribly useful. It's a good way to perhaps turn your Necromancer's Assistant into a more useful card. So you get a 2/2 and you get to draw a card just for discarding him. That's pretty useful. There's a few zombies we've seen in 2015. There's the Crow, there's Black Cat, etc. The Necromancer's Assistant. It's not bad, it's got potential.
I think the thing is, it fires off itself. Once you've got one zombie onto your battlefield, you pay your 2 mana, you discard that zombie, you get a 2/2 zombie creature. If it's Black Cat's only a 1/1. You're then upgrading to a 2/2.
Yeah.
You can do this as many times as you want because it's an enchantment, you don't have to tap it. You can then pay 2 more, discard that 2/2 zombie creature token that you made.
You've got to discard, so it's got to be in your hand.
Oh, I do apologise. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's the drawback then. Yeah. I think the right place.
Yeah.
The right place, a zombie deck, it could be very useful, especially if you've got stuff that can come back from the graveyard, like you said, Gravecrawler and things like that. It gets you a draw as well at the end of the day. It's 2 mana for a draw and a discard. So that's another additional, and it gets stuff into your graveyard if you're playing Necromancy things. So if you've got a fatty that you can get from the graveyard onto the battlefield for free, it costs you 2 mana to put it into the graveyard then.
Yep.
Definitely got its place. Whether it will get much play in pre-release, I don't know, unless someone finds the right combos going off on it. Right. Then we have a Nightfire Giant, which is a 5 black zombie giant for a 4/3. Nightfire Giant gets +1/+1 as long as you control a mountain. So these are the creatures that they're trying to affect the synergy of the colours that ally. So we've got black, red here, lovely combination. And then it also has the ability of 4 colourless and 1 red mana. Nightfire Giant deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So it does 2 direct damage. Once again, give it Death Touch. Beautiful, but you can also ping off 2 damage. It's quite expensive, 5 mana for 2 damage, but if it's your end of your opponent's turn, you've got that mana left behind, you've just got out 5 for a 4/3 giant, so it's not too bad. If you're playing red, then it's a 5/4 for a 5 mana. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's a lot more efficient. Yeah, it's a great way to finish off your opponent, like you say, because you can do it as often as you want as long as they don't kill the giant. Nothing special, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So next up we have Nightmare. Once again, that card we've seen in Magic for years. Nightmare costs 5 and 1 black, so 6 altogether. Creature, Nightmare Horse, star, flying. Nightmare's power and toughness are each equal to the number of swamps you control. Now what I've been noticing is that what they've got going here is they've got a cycle-ish of rare cards that we've seen from back in the day in Magic. So that's Mahamoji Jin in blue, Nightmare in black, etc. It's nice to see them back. Some of them are really good. This one's not bad if you've got lots of swamps. Again, it kind of pushes you towards mono black because you want to have lots of swamps and you're playing limited. You need them to be actual swamps. So although there are other ways to get around it outside of it, either way, still a pretty efficient creature.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be pretty. If you're playing mono black, it's going to be 6 mana for 6/6 for flying, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. And if you're playing some kind of green ramp going into the black, say it comes out as a 2/2 or a 3/3 with flying as well, not too bad. Not the most effective card, but I definitely think it could be your bomb when you need it to be in a black deck. So you get that, I think you're pretty much edging towards the black side of things. Then we have another card that I'm going to be unable to pronounce. Ob Nixilis Unshackled, which is a 6 double black. Legendary creature demons. This is the legendary of the blacks. Each colour's getting their own legendary creature. It has flying and trample, so you're paying 6 mana for a 4/4 with flying and trample. That evens itself out. Then we have some abilities. Whenever an opponent searches his or her library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. That shuts down a lot of people deck fixing. I like that. Whenever another creature dies, put +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis Unshackled. I like that as well. Especially if you're playing black.
Yeah.
You could even sack out your own creatures to different bits and pieces. I think this is a very, very strong card in black. We're seeing these demons really kind of ramp up going into M15, and I would be happy to play this card. I mean, I would splash black purposefully if I drew this card.
Yeah, he's pretty good. His abilities play off of each other, so should your opponent search the library, they've got to sack a creature and lose 10 life, and Ob Nixilis gets that much bigger. So, putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature is never a bad thing. The first time you do it, he becomes a 5/5 with flying and trample for 6. Pretty great.
Also, what I'm seeing a lot of theming in this is a few cards that are orientated towards multiplayer games. A lot of cards that are kind of specifically worded to be whenever an opponent. So it's lots of things that can really kind of mess up multiplayer games, which I like a lot when you've got that openness of being able to play multiplayer.
So next up we have the black card in the Paragon cycle. Paragon of Open Graves. 3 and 1 black, so 4 altogether. Creature, Skeleton Warrior 2/2. Other black creatures you control get +1/+1. Pay 2 and 1 black and tap him. Another target black creature you control gains Death Touch on end of turn. This guy's a pretty strong Paragon as well. Giving all your black creatures +1/+1 is of course useful. Everybody can see why that's good. And giving another creature Death Touch is pretty good. We talked about how it would be useful with the Sadist earlier, but it's useful on any creature that you want to block with, and this guy gives it to whatever creature you want, as long as it's not itself. The only real drawback to it is that it costs 3, as opposed to the other Paragon base you've already seen in white and blue, which only costs 1 to activate. However, it is giving Death Touch. So I personally might still lean towards the blue Paragon being overall the more powerful so far, but Paragon of Open Graves is still really good. Giving Death Touch to creatures is great.
Especially when we have at least 2 creatures so far in the black set that does direct damage.
Yeah.
So they're pinging off that damage and then whatever to whoever. No matter how big that fatty is, if you've got Death Touch and you're throwing damage at it, it's going to die. And that can be useful late game. So for a turn 4 creature that buffs all your other creatures before it, that's definitely a very, very useful card.
Yeah.
Right, next up we have got Rot Feaster Maggot, which is a 5-drop black insect with a 3/5 body. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain life equal to that card's toughness. That's amazing. That really is. Might be a bit pricey because you're paying 5 for a 3/5, but he's sat there as a blocker, and you get your life gain from something that is in any graveyard. So you can really go for your opponent's big fatties as well as your own if you haven't got anything in there quite yet. So that is quite a good black card, especially for a common.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot of play for that one for pre-release.
So next up we have a card that I mentioned before we were talking in white. Sengir Vampire. 3 black, so 5 altogether. Creature, Vampire, 4/4. Flying. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Sengir Vampire this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Sengir Vampire. Classic creature, way back in the day. Nice creature. 5 mana for 4/4 with flying is already pretty efficient. If you